So I've just stopped for a quick coffee. I'm on the way to the next place I'm going to visit, which is called the Praça de Liberdade, the Liberty Square in English. This is a cafe called Chamegos, and the street is called Avenida de Bias Fortes. I've been walking for about 10 minutes from the market. The plaza that I'm going to visit is just 4 blocks away from here, so it'll probably take me another 5 minutes to get there. But yeah, I'm just having a pit stop and a coffee break. So the hills in this city are quite steep, some of them. If you do come, get ready for a good day of walking. It's good exercise as well, so got to look at the positives. So I've arrived at the Liberty Square, or the Praça de Liberdade. This is one of the most well-known places in the whole of Belo Horizonte. It's surrounded by really important buildings, so government buildings, museums. It's got the municipal library as well, so lots of really interesting things here. The central part of the square has got these fantastic palm trees. These are really mature palm trees because they're so tall. Yeah, I mean, even though it's called a square, it feels like a park really. There are lots of people walking, cycling, jogging, hanging out, spending time with their family and things like that, so it's got a really nice atmosphere, really chilled. Yep, so this is the main central part of the square. You can see these palm trees are really impressive, and they've been really well looked after as well. Behind me here is the Museu Banco do Brasil, which is an art gallery that is founded and sponsored by the Banco do Brasil, which is one of the biggest banks in the whole of Brazil. So they've got a Marc Chagall exhibition on at the moment, so I think I'm going to go and have a look at that. And just behind me on the left, this building over here was designed by the Brazilian architect called Oscar Niemeyer, and it's actually a private apartment block, so it's not open to the public, but you can see its architecture is very distinctive of Oscar Niemeyer, who also designed cities like Brasilia and other places in Brazil. So this is a really fascinating square. You can see the sort of culture of Minas Gerais here. They've got museums and cultural buildings here, so it's a really interesting focal point for the city. I'm now in the cultural centre of the Banco Brazil. Yeah, the entrance is free to this museum. It's a really beautiful entrance. The exhibition is called Sonho de Amor, so Dream of Love. So this is the first room of the exhibition, Origins and Russian Traditions. And I quite like this painting, the Russian village. And this is the artist doing a sketch when living in Moscow. This next room is got paintings or etchings all about fables, and it says here that Chagall was commissioned to illustrate fables of La Fontaine, and La Fontaine was a 17th century French writer. All of these paintings here were commissioned for this book about fables, and a lot of them are paintings of animals, so that's the history of how these etchings came about. This one's called The Swan and the Cook. This one's called The Turtle and the Two Ducks. So this is actually the central hall or atrium of the museum. And as you can see, they've got this really interesting installation right in the middle with this fabric being blown up in the center. Really cool exhibit. I haven't seen one like that before. But you can also get a sense of the building itself. It's a really beautiful building. So these paintings are actually a set of lithographs called Derrière le Miroir, and these came out in 1954, and they're all about the city of Paris and when Chagall was living there. The Eiffel Tower, Saint-Germain, really interesting colours. So this is the last room in the exhibition, and it's called Love Defies the Force of Gravity. You've got these really beautiful flowers, bouquets of flowers. So this is the last picture in the exhibition, and it's called The Dream. So the Chagall exhibition was really good. I was really impressed with the quality of the canvases, and there was a really good explanation about how the artist got his inspiration for doing the paintings. So yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed it. This is the central hall area, and there's a coffee shop right at the back. You can see the Marc Chagall poster at the top. And this is this fascinating installation with these pieces of fabric. I think I could just watch this for hours. It's so cool. So the Banco do Brasil Museum was really good. I really enjoyed it. They've got some great exhibitions, and the building itself is really beautiful. They've actually got Banco do Brasil museums in other cities in Brazil, like Rio and Sao Paulo and Brasilia, the capital. So even if you're in other cities in Brazil, you might be able to find one of these museums. But honestly, the quality of their exhibitions was really impressive. I definitely recommend going if you're in Belo Horizonte. From here you can see the architecture of this Oscar Niemeyer building. The curves are quite elegant, and it's a really stylish building, very impressive. It's about 5:30, so I'm going to try and get into another museum, see if there's anything else that's open at this time to have a quick look at. But it's a really nice temperature now, it's quite a bit cooler. Yeah, just a nice atmosphere in general. There's a lot of people walking their dogs in this square tonight. Lots of people walking, running and things like that. Feels very safe, very relaxed, very chilled out. It's a nice place to spend some time in the evening. So I've actually been really lucky today because the museums close at 10 o'clock on a Thursday. So normally they close at 6, but they have a late closing time on Thursdays, so that's cool. I came here on the right day, basically. This is called the Museum of Mines and Metal, and it's all to do with the mining history of this state. Minas Gerais literally translates as general mines into English, and there's a big history of mining, also agriculture and farming as well. So I'm interested to see what the history of this state is in relation to mining. I think it's going to be an interesting discovery. So this is a room with all different types of stone and quartz that comes from Brazil. These ones are from Bahia. Paraná. So I'm now on the second floor of the Metal and Mines Museum. I'm in this really fascinating room with this incredible copper coloured walls, I don't know if it's actual copper or just copper coloured. It's very beautiful and it reflects the light in this sort of orange way. The theme of this floor is actually water and minerals. So yeah, looks very interesting. So this is an enormous sculpture. I think it's meant to represent water, but it's really impressive, really beautiful. So I'm now on the first floor, and this floor is all about mining and about stones and minerals that they've found all over Brazil. Different types of gems and even meteorites that they found in Brazil. So I'm going to have a look at some of the examples they've got. So here you can see they've got some gold quartz and replica of a bar of gold. So here they've got some quartz, which was found in Minas Gerais. Quite a large specimen. Even the entrance of this museum is really elegant. The mining museum was really cool. Interesting, informative. You can learn a lot about mining. Even the building itself is impressive. So it's very beautiful, very historic. They've got stained glass windows and things like that inside. So the building itself is interesting, but the exhibitions as well are really fascinating. It's also free to get in. There was no registration or anything like that. So yeah, from what I can gather, all of the museums I've visited in Belo Horizonte have been free, which is a real bonus, a real plus. I think you're spoiled for choice in this part of the city because there's museums all around this square. So it's just fascinating learning about the culture of Minas Gerais. It's such an interesting state with so much history. I'm actually going to head back to the hotel now. It's 10 to 7. So from here on the roof terrace you can actually see how big Belo Horizonte is, and it's actually surrounded by mountains, so it's in a kind of valley. And on the hill you can see what are known as favelas or shanty towns, which are also known as comunidades. Yeah, so this is just a shot of the city at night. So Belo Horizonte is a fascinating city. I found it really interesting getting to know it today. I think normally tourists and people from outside of Brazil go to the coastal cities, so Rio, Recife, the beach resorts, because they're the more well-known ones. But what I've learned is that the interior of Brazil is also really interesting in its own way. It's got its own character and its own charm and personality. It is really different to Rio or Sao Paulo. It's not as big as those cities, but it's still very busy, a lot of energy. Because it's off the beaten track a bit, and I do like off the beaten track, don't get me wrong, you have to basically speak some Portuguese because you can't really get by speaking English here. Yeah, I would say in general there aren't many tourists from outside of Brazil here. I haven't actually met anyone, who speaks English or is from English-speaking countries or anything like that. And again, I'm cool with that. I find it quite interesting because it's given me a chance to see how the Brazilians really live and how they're just getting on with their daily lives and how they're working and how they're traveling and things like that. So I really like that kind of thing because I just find it's kind of authentic and just different, really. So that's been really good. I especially enjoyed the Praça de Liberdade. So that place is incredible. It is really beautiful. Lots to see, loads of museums. You're sort of spoiled for choice by museums. It's difficult because when you're in a place for a short period of time you can't see everything, so you've just got to see what you can see and try and enjoy that. Hopefully I'll get the chance to go back and see some other museums before I go on Sunday. So yeah, but the park was also beautiful, really, really nice. So the people who live in Minas Gerais are known as mineiros in Portuguese. My experience of meeting mineiros today in Belo Horizonte has been really positive. So they're very friendly, they're very down to earth, they seem like they're willing to help you all the time. Inevitably, as a tourist, you do need a bit of help finding your way. I had no issues at all. People were helpful giving me directions and tips and things like that. I think I was lucky with the weather today. It's been really wet this week with tropical storms and really heavy rain, but today it was nice and dry. Not too hot, not too cold, it was just right. A tiny bit humid, but I've had much more humid conditions in Brazil. Anyway, I'm going to pop out, get some dinner now because I'm kind of hungry. It's been a really interesting, quite a busy day. Yeah, like everywhere I've visited in Brazil, the positives outweigh the negatives. There are always a few challenges and a few ups and downs. But on the whole, it's such an intriguing, exciting place to be that I'm always grateful for the time that I've got here. So yeah, it's been a good one. It's been fun. Take care and I'll see you soon. Ciao.